I was out for a walk with my grandma when I saw an insanely hot guy. Grandma got the hint. You want his number, don't you? I nodded sheepishly. Yeah, but I'm too scared. Grandma told me to wait and hobbled over to him. A few minutes later, my phone rang. A deep, magnetic male voice came through the line. Hi, is this Eve? Your grandma's lost. Can you come pick her up at the crossroads? I was walking with Grandma on the weekend. In the middle of our chat, I spotted a drop-dead gorgeous guy standing on the side of the street. He was the kind of handsome that just pops out of a crowd. He had this lazy, cool vibe. A sharp profile. He was wearing a black button-down with the sleeves rolled up, leaning against a convenience store, smoking. He looked like a model from a soda ad, and I was so mesmerized I just froze. I almost tripped and face-planted on the pavement. Eve, what's wrong? My grandma quickly steadied me. Nothing. I was too embarrassed to admit I'd been staring at a hot guy instead of watching where I was going. But Grandma knows me. She didn't buy it. She just looked up in the direction I had been staring. Oh, I see, she said, a teasing smile playing on her lips. You want that boy's number, don't you? I shook my head frantically, then gave in and nodded. Yeah, but I don't have the guts. Grandma snorted. You little coward. You wait here, Grandma will help you out. And with that, she limped her way over to the guy. I was completely mortified. No, Grandma, you're not actually going to ask for his number for me, are you? I watched as my grandma walked right up to the handsome guy. He looked down, saw her, and immediately put out his cigarette, his laid-back expression softening a bit. His lips moved a few times. He seemed to be asking her what was wrong. I don't know what my grandma said, but he looked a little stunned. Then he nodded. Then he looked down and started tapping on his phone. I stood there, my palms sweating from the sheer secondhand embarrassment. 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I answered, confused. A nice, lazy-sounding male voice came through the phone. Hi, Eve, right? Your grandma can't find her way home. Can you come pick her up? I clutched my phone, stammering. Why yes, of course. He chuckled a little. All right, just come to the intersection at Main Street. Okay, I'm nearby. I'll be right there. My heart was pounding as I hung up. My grandma. She's an absolute genius. Who would have thought of such a brilliant way to break the ice? It was subtle and so effective. I quickly saved the guy's number, then smoothed my hair and straightened my dress. Once I was ready, I headed for the intersection. There, standing under the shade of a tree, was my crush. Left hand in his pocket, right hand holding my grandma's. And my grandma was beaming like a kid who'd just stolen a cookie. Grandma. When she saw me, Grandma shot me a quick wink before turning to the guy with an innocent look. Lionel, my granddaughter's here. I stopped and met his eyes. Up close, he was even more ridiculously good-looking. My face instantly flushed, and I could feel my ears burning. The handsome guy reached out his hand first, a lazy smile on his face. Hi, I'm Lionel. What a great name. My throat felt tight. I shook his hand like a robot. I'm Eve. Thank you so much for helping my grandma. His hand was clean, warm, with well-defined knuckles. Of course. Hot guys always have perfect hands. No problem. Grandma glanced between us and suddenly clapped her hands. Oh, Lionel, you were such a lifesaver today. I don't know what an old lady like me would have done. I offered to buy you dinner to say thanks, but you said you were busy. What a shame. Lionel looked at my face and said slowly, You know, Grandma, I think my schedule just opened up. 15 minutes later, the three of us were sitting in a private room at a nice little restaurant. Lionel said he needed to wash his hands after smoking. Watching him walk away, I sighed internally. So handsome. Just then, a familiar, disgusting voice came from the next table, sounding as greasy as day-old soup. Eve. I turned my head. It was my former boss, Frank. He was sitting at the table next to us, a fake smile plastered on his face. What a coincidence. He got up and walked over, his eyes shining. I've been calling you ever since you quit. Why haven't you been picking up? I asked a bunch of people where you went, but they wouldn't say. I even went to your old place, but the neighbors said you moved. What, are you avoiding me? Don't be like that. I ignored him and went back to looking at the menu. My usually cheerful grandma's face had turned cold. There was a reason for it. Frank used to constantly harass me and had even threatened my grandma, telling her not to cause trouble or he'd make our lives hell. I quit in a rage while he was away on a business trip. I couldn't believe he was still creepily trying to track me down. My knuckles whitened as I gripped the menu. Frank smiled way too familiarly. I didn't mean to touch your leg that time, I was just drunk. Besides, you overreacted. It was no big deal. Eve, why are you ignoring me? Still mad? He took a step forward, as if to provoke me, and even tried to put his arm around my shoulder. I was just about to stand up and kick him when... thwack. Suddenly, a can of ice-cold soda slammed into the back of Frank's hand. The force made him cry out in pain. Frank spun around, his face turning green. Who the hell was that? Lionel stood in front of me and said coolly, "Your daddy." Frank pointed at him, wincing. "You little punk, you dare hit me? Do you have any idea who I am?" Lionel's expression didn't change. He just calmly rolled up his sleeves. "Don't want to know. All I know is you're asking for a beating. I work for the Apex Group. Say that name and it'll scare you to death. Oh, an employee at the richest company in the city. So what?" Lionel said, unimpressed. Frank sneered arrogantly. "You should know how powerful our boss is in this city, even if you don't go online. You'd better watch your back from now on, kid." Lionel paused, then let out a short, sharp laugh. "Hey buddy, come here. I need to tell you something." "Don't worry, I won't lay a hand on you." Frank skeptically leaned in. I watched as Lionel whispered something in his ear. The man's face instantly went pale. He scrambled back a few steps, studying Lionel's face. All his earlier arrogance was gone. I could swear Frank's legs were trembling. You. Lionel glanced at him, annoyed. "Shut up. Are you going to get lost or not?" Frank immediately tucked his tail between his legs and ran. Lionel calmly sat back down. I quickly thanked him. "Thank you so much." "Don't mention it." Grandma handed him the menu, her eyes a little red. "Lionel, you order. Get whatever you like. We were so lucky to run into you today. Otherwise, that guy would have started bothering our Eve again." Lionel looked at me. He smiled. "It's fine. He won't dare to anymore." "Eve, what do you like to eat?" The topic shifted so suddenly. I answered automatically, sweet and sour ribs, stir-fried pork with chili peppers, why? He smiled but didn't say much. He just gave a soft mm. Then he checked off both dishes on the menu. His knuckles were so distinct. I realized what was happening and scratched my cheek, embarrassed. But at the same time, I couldn't help being curious. Lionel, what did you whisper to Frank? How did you scare him so bad?" Lionel gave me a wicked grin. I told him I recognized him from one of those 1,000+ hidden cam videos of that perv online. The one where he was carrying half a jug of cooking oil. And if he didn't want to face social suicide for the rest of his life, he'd better behave. I was floored. What a disgusting man. Thank God I always rejected him. My grandma's mood improved a lot during the meal. She got back to business, playing the role of my wing woman with serious dedication. "So, Lionel, what do you do for work?" I'm just a regular office worker. A regular office worker? I glanced at the Audemars Piguet watch on his wrist and kept my mouth shut. What kind of 9-to-5er can afford that? Wait. It's not a knockoff, is it? Do you live around here? Nope. I'm just here to see a friend. I live downtown. Grandma patted his hand, satisfied. Downtown is great. So young and successful. Well, Lionel, do you have a girlfriend? My ears perked up instantly. No. Lionel didn't seem bothered by the question at all. He answered directly, even glancing at me. But I've been thinking about finding one recently. If you know anyone suitable, Grandma, feel free to introduce me. I lowered my head and shoveled rice into my mouth, not daring to look up. Grandma smiled again. Well, what do you think of my granddaughter? I nearly choked on the piece of tofu in my mouth. Grandma, do you have to be so direct? I wanted to tug on her sleeve, but my eyes met Lionel's. He didn't say anything, just smiled at me. It was a light, fleeting smile, like a drop of water blown off the rim of a glass, not heavy, but it tickled your heart. She's very interesting. I paused, almost forgetting to breathe. Your grandma, I mean, he added, the corner of his eye crinkling with a smile, his tone casual. The meal was great. When we finished, I found out Lionel had already paid the bill at some point. He seemed to be in a hurry, glancing at his phone several times. I have to meet some clients tonight, so I need to get going. Of course, of course. Grandma and I had no reason to keep him. Before he left, Lionel glanced at me again, as if he had something more to say. But in the end, he just turned, took a long stride, and left. After watching him drive away in a luxury car, Grandma asked me, "Did you save Lionel's number?" I did. Oh, wait, I'm getting old and forgetful. You young people use messaging apps now. I should have pretended I didn't know the way and tricked him into giving me his contact info so he could send me a map link. I couldn't help but laugh. Maybe I'll get another chance to ask. But probably not. After all, when Lionel left, he didn't seem interested in taking things any further. I sighed silently, tucking away my little bit of disappointment. The next day, I ran into an old coworker. She mentioned casually, "Eve, did you hear? That creep Frank actually quit." I was surprised. Why? She shook her head. No idea. I heard he pissed off someone high up and was afraid of the consequences, so he left. I just said, "Oh," but inside I was cheering. That guy was always an arrogant bully who harassed the female staff. He got what he deserved. It served him right. I couldn't help but think of Lionel. In a way, he was my lucky star. Just when I thought I'd never cross paths with my crush again, my best friend dragged me to a nightclub a few days later. She said she'd just broken up with her boyfriend and needed to see some male models to calm her nerves. I couldn't say no, so I went with her to a famous club downtown. The mix of perfume, minty smoke, voices, and alcohol in the air immediately went to my head. "You go sit over there, I'll order the drinks." My friend gave me a pat and squeezed into the crowd. I found a sofa in a corner and was about to scroll through my phone when a figure caught my eye. Broad shoulders, wide back, tall, with long legs. Wait a minute. Isn't that Lionel? He was walking towards a private booth. His profile was like something off a magazine cover, his gaze lazy and light. My heart skipped a beat, and my fingers dug into the edge of the sofa. I summoned my courage, ready to stand up and use this chance to say hi and make contact. The second my butt left the seat, a wave of jeers came from the booth. Well, look who's late. Our star model's got an attitude problem. Yeah, look at him, he didn't even pour us a drink or feed us fruit when he came in. I'm complaining to the manager later. Dock this kid's whole bonus. I froze. Lionel walked right into the middle of them and took a bottle of liquor. His back was to me, so I couldn't see his expression, but his voice sounded cheerful. Gentlemen, please, have a drink. Who wants some fruit? I'll feed you myself. Me, I do. Ha 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 ha. Can you feed it to me mouth to mouth? Hearing that, Lionel seemed to slowly roll up his sleeves. I was staring, wide-eyed, trying to see what he was about to do, when the booth door slammed shut. The laughter and noise were all sealed inside. My mind went blank, like someone had hit the pause button on me. The courage I'd just mustered evaporated instantly. I was so flustered that I sat back down carefully, as if I were a thief. An office worker from downtown. Said he had to meet clients late at night. Luxury car, fancy watch. My throat felt dry, and my fingers unconsciously fiddled with the zipper on my purse. I'm screwed. Isn't this the standard setup for a high-end gigolo? I wasn't disgusted. Just surprised. And my heart ached for him. A guy like Lionel, handsome, confident, relaxed, with such a classy vibe, how did he end up in such a miserable situation? Smiling and catering to people all day, even putting up with their sleazy jokes. My chest felt tight, like something was weighing it down. While I was dazedly drinking with my friend, who had returned, Lionel came out of the booth. I jumped. I immediately made an excuse about needing the restroom and got up to secretly follow him. The place was crowded, and I was a little drunk. I almost lost him a few times. Just as I saw Lionel turn a corner and disappear, I hurried after him. But as soon as I rounded the corner, I stopped in my tracks. Lionel was leaning against the wall, lighting a cigarette. The flame illuminated half his face. The club's moody lighting cast a slant across his shoulders, making his eyes seem to droop slightly, a little lazily. With a face like that, even the knockoff watch on his wrist looked real. Eve, are you following me? His voice was laced with amusement. So he knew all along. I scratched my head awkwardly. No, I wasn't following you. So you're lost, then? Should I call your grandma to come get you? He added, his tone teasing. My ears flushed red instantly. That's not it either. I just wanted to talk to you for a second. Lionel asked, about what? You don't have to entertain any other clients tonight. Can I book you for the whole night? I don't know why I said it. Maybe it's just that knight in shining armor instinct we all have. I looked at him with pure pity. Lionel froze for a split second. The expression was fleeting, maybe just a fraction of a second. But I still caught the surprise and confusion on his face. Then, his gaze shifted subtly. The surprise morphed into a strange sort of amusement. It was that teasing look, like a predator idly observing a kitten. I see. Do you know how much my service fee is for one night? I said seriously, I heard them say you're the top guy, so you must be expensive. But I have money. Don't worry, I won't let you deal with those insulting clients anymore. Especially the male ones who make you feed them fruit and pour their drinks. Lionel seemed to be holding back a laugh. All right then. I'm all yours for tonight. The next second, he extended his hand in an exaggerated but polite please gesture. Miss, please return to your booth. Your male model is now online. Oh, okay. I fiddled with my hands, embarrassed, and led him back. The sound of his footsteps behind me was steady, each one landing like a beat on my heart. Probably because he was the star model, a lot of people were staring at us in surprise. Especially at me. Their eyes held a kind of reverence. When we got back to the booth, my friend was gone. She was probably off trying to find some guy to console her. Lionel, you can sit. Sure. Lionel slid onto the sofa next to me. Have this. It's sweet, so you won't have to drink any of the hard stuff. It's better for you. I pushed a glass of fruit wine that no one had touched toward him, my voice as quiet as a mosquito. He took it, his voice as sweet and lazy as ever. Thanks, sugar mama. I blushed. You're welcome. After taking a few sips, Lionel suddenly leaned in close, his breath brushing against my ear. So, my dear client, are you just buying my company for the night, or are you interested in some more, adult, special services? For you, I could make an exception to my art only, no body rule. I asked, how much for just drinks for one night? He replied, 20,000 a night. I asked again, and for other services? He replied, 200 a night. Wait. Has the world gone completely insane? Drinking with someone is more valuable than special services? I did not understand, and I was shocked. And my heart ached for him even more. Then I'll just have you for drinks for the night. That way, you can earn more. The smile on Lionel's lips froze. He looked like he wanted to say something, but couldn't. His voice sounded strange. Eve, you're a really good person. That night, after Lionel finished his glass of fruit wine, I transferred him 20,000. I also took the opportunity to get his contact info. This method was much more subtle than my grandma's. Lionel didn't refuse. He probably didn't suspect a thing. I'll try to book you once a month. The man looked at the 20,000 that had just appeared in his account, then at my serious face. His eyes were smiling. But he deliberately rubbed his temples with his fingers, feigning disappointment. Why only once a month? What other reason could there be? My financial powers were limited. I opened a shop after quitting my job, and I didn't make much, even working myself to the bone. I had to save him from his fallen state, but also save for my grandma's retirement and our living expenses. But I didn't want to disappoint him. I'll try to make it twice. If you run into any trouble in your daily life, you can tell me. And you'll solve it for me? I'll do my best. I was completely serious. Okay, Lionel chuckled. I didn't expect to get a help request from him on social media the very next day. Eve, my apartment is flooded. I was stunned. I immediately gave him a call. Lionel, how did your apartment get flooded? He said, my neighbor's huge fish tank burst. Water all over the floor. The waterproofing in these high rises isn't great, and it's soaked right through my ceiling. I was gobsmacked. Male models live in high rises now? He cleared his throat. Ahem, yeah. In this day and age, male models have to go high-end. If you're not high-end, you don't get clients. That's what they teach us in male model training. Besides, it's a bunch of us living in one apartment. It's very cost-effective. So that's how it is. How progressive. My eyes have been opened. I immediately told my grandma about it. I said Lionel's place was flooded and he wanted to rent a spare room in our house. Of course, I conveniently left out the part about him being a male model. When Grandma heard, she was thrilled. I thought you and Lionel weren't going to work out. So you two have been talking in secret. I was embarrassed. Grandma saw right through me and agreed to let Lionel stay. Lionel showed up at our door that same evening. He was carrying a designer suitcase, probably a knockoff. Grandma couldn't stop smiling when she saw him. You're here, Lionel. You haven't had dinner yet, have you? I made oxtail soup. Thank you, Grandma. Let me help. You and Eve just relax. Okay. So I watched as a confident Lionel walked into the kitchen. And then proceeded to drop and shatter a pile of bowls. I was silent. Seriously? Don't they teach them how to cook in male model training? Probably feeling bad about it, Lionel reimbursed me for the dishes that night. I glanced down at the transfer amount. $50,000. For transfers of $50,000. I sucked in a sharp breath. Why are you giving me so much money? Are my bowls antiques or something? Lionel replied, and the rent. But the rent in this neighborhood is only $20,000 a year. I'll rent for 10 years. Isn't that too long? A male model's career only lasts about 10 years. He had a point. So, from that day on, Lionel lived with us. I have to say, living together with my crush/kept gigolo was pretty thrilling. The emotional payoff was off the charts, and his service attitude was impeccable. He'd bring me little snacks when he came home, and when he was around the house, he'd just casually walk past me every so often. He did all the physical labor around the house. He could change a light bulb, and he could unclog the toilet and the drains. He would even pick me up when I closed my shop. Then we'd hit the supermarket together to buy groceries. He was a total husband material kind of guy. I'd never been addicted to anything before. But it was really hard not to fall for him even more, not to imagine this as our married life. I liked it so much. Until one day, he came home with me, his hands full with 2 big bags of groceries. But when we got to the door, I couldn't find my keys in my purse. Grandma was out for her line dancing class. Worried that Lionel's arms would get tired from holding all that stuff, I started to panic. "Lionel, just a second, I know my keys are in my bag somewhere." The more I rushed, the harder they were to find. And of course, the light in the hallway was terribly dim. Lionel watched me fumbling around and chuckled. "Forget it, Eve. I have a key in my pocket. You can just grab it." "Oh, okay, which pocket is it in?" "Forgot. Either the left or the right." "Okay." I quickly reached into his left pocket to feel for the key. The pants he was wearing had pretty deep pockets. I could faintly hear the jingle of keys, but I just couldn't grab them. How strange. I fumbled around for a bit. I didn't notice Lionel's body getting more and more tense. Suddenly, my hand touched something. It wasn't exactly soft. But it wasn't exactly hard either. And it was warm. Out of habit, I instinctively gave it a little squeeze. Hiss. Lionel let out a grunt, his voice husky as he warned me, "Eve, if you're looking for the key, just look for the key. If you keep touching other things, I'm going to start having a reaction." I froze at his words. Wait. So what I touched wasn't. For a moment, I didn't know whether to move or stay still. Well, this is a first. As if on cue, my grandma came up the stairs, humming a little tune. She saw our position, and where my hand was, and her expression slowly turned mischievous. "You know, I could go dance for a little while longer, give you two some time." I have no idea how we finally got inside. All I know is that as I was putting away the groceries with a beet red face, Lionel went straight to the bathroom to shower. The sound of the running water was like a tiny, suggestive hammer, tapping away at my heart. It was deafening. My mind started racing. Why does Lionel keep it on the left side? It's so big. Is this just the personality of guys who keep it on the left? It really is big. Why doesn't he keep it on the right? It's definitely big. Why is my brain stuck on how big it is? Shameless. Just as I was feeling ashamed of my own dirty thoughts, my grandma came over, smiling. "My bad, Grandma, didn't mean to interrupt you young-ins." "Grandma, no, it was a misunderstanding." I tried to explain. My grandma had that I know everything look on her face. "When did you two start dating?" "You didn't even tell me." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "We're not dating, it was a misunderstanding." "What's wrong, you don't like him anymore?" "Ahem, that's not it. I do really like him, but I just feel like something's weird." I pondered. For example, for a top male model, he spent every night at home and almost never went out to work. His schedule was as regular as mine, maybe even more disciplined. For example, one morning he was wearing a set of Hermes pajamas while brewing a pot of incredibly rare vintage tea for Grandma. One cake of that tea could probably pay off my mortgage. When I looked at him, bewildered, he said, "You gotta project a high-end image, you know?" Fine. For another example, sometimes when he took calls, he'd say these over-the-top things like, "If the profit on the deal isn't at least 10 figures, forget it, we don't need their business, or I'm busy, just send any manager to that international conference." I'd be standing there, my eyelids twitching, and manage to squeeze out, "Lionel, has the male model business gotten this ambitious?" He'd say coolly, "You gotta talk big. How else are you going to convince clients we're a premium service?" My face was a blank slate. That was some serious bluffing. And another thing. One day, I saw the collar of a white shirt he'd washed. It had a few letters embroidered in dark gold thread. On a whim, I looked it up. It was a bespoke luxury brand that only accepts 10 commissions a year, worldwide. Their client list was basically royalty and aristocrats. Seriously. Sometimes I almost wanted to ask him for his hookup for all these amazing knockoffs. How does he find this stuff? After hearing all this, my grandma also felt something wasn't right. We looked at each other, a look of horror dawning on our faces. Could Lionel be the mastermind behind some kind of romance scam? But then I looked at Lionel, who had just finished his shower, his hair all soft and down, and I thought it couldn't be possible. What would be the point? To scam me and my grandma out of our meager savings? I couldn't figure it out. The next day, I went to find Frank. I had to know why he was so terrified of Lionel at the restaurant that day. I didn't quite believe the story about the hidden cam videos. Because I had risked getting a sty in my eye to watch all 1,600 of those videos. The guy with the jug of oil wasn't him. But Frank seemed terrified of me. "I haven't bothered you at all lately, Eve. Don't you dare try to frame me." I cut to the chase. "What did the guy I was with that day whisper in your ear?" Frank looked confused. "Didn't you ask Mr. Lionel to threaten me?" "Mr. Lionel?" I pressed my lips together. "What do you mean? Who is he?" What Frank said next made my entire body go numb. "Mr. Lionel is the son of the chairman of the Apex Group. He took over right after you quit. I was wondering how you got the chance to meet someone like him." "Never mind that. Just tell me, he's rich, right?" "Are you kidding me? The balance in his bank account has more digits than our phone numbers." "And his temper?" My voice trembled. "From what I know, not great. He's known for being unpredictable. But no one would ever dare to provoke him. The guy could crush a normal person like me with a snap of his fingers. Who would dare? I pissed him off because of you, that's why I quit and ran. No wonder he had piles of luxury goods. They weren't knockoffs. They were all real. No wonder his schedule was normal, and he never worked nights. What kind of CEO pulls all-nighters like a common wage slave? And no wonder his business was so high-end. It was definitely high-end. 10-figure profits weren't a bluff. Thinking back, the guys teasing him in the private booth were probably just his friends joking around. I wiped my face. I felt a wave of despair. So, I mistook the city's golden boy for a gigolo. How exactly was he going to ruin my life? I walked home, convinced my days were numbered. Who could understand this? I was supposed to be cool, calm, and collected. Now I was just scrambling to save my own skin. It was all my fault for being so shallow, so captivated by Lionel's handsome face. Sighing, I passed by that famous nightclub. The one he'd tricked me into thinking was his workplace. And by some stroke of fate, I ran into Lionel. He was standing out front, chatting with a few guys who looked like your typical trust fund kids, a cigarette dangling from his lips. He just barely tilted his head forward, and someone next to him immediately lit it for him with a respectful air. The aura and posture of a man in charge were unmistakable. Lionel straightened up, looking at his phone with a slightly annoyed expression. No new messages. Which meant I hadn't messaged him. Ever since I'd gotten his number, I'd been finding all sorts of excuses to chat with him during the day. It was all laced with a knowing, unspoken flirtation. But after last night's key fetching incident, my shyness and fear of him being a scammer had brought our conversation to a halt. One of his close friends asked, "Lionel, what's up? You're in a bad mood today. Didn't you just close that deal on the north side? You're not happy with a quick multi-million-dollar profit?" "It's not about that." Lionel put his phone away, then couldn't help but ask again, "Let's say a girl likes you, spends money on you, flirts with you, but then starts ignoring you after she takes advantage of you. What does that mean? Whoa, how did this girl take advantage of you? Lionel's face was blank. It's a hypothetical. Don't make it about me. Alright. Maybe she wasn't satisfied with what she got. She wasn't satisfied with 18? My sister says the guys in novels these days start at 20. Lionel's face soured a little. Unless you're a genetic mutant, the chances of being over 20 are practically zero, okay? Or maybe she's just bored. Found someone new. Likes shiny new things. No way. She's not like that. She was raised really well. Then you must have done something wrong, or lied to her about something, and she found out. And now she's scared. I told you it was a hypothetical, and besides, I didn't do crap. Lionel suddenly realized what he'd done, pretending to be a male model to get close to me. He instantly looked around, flustered. And his eyes met mine as I was passing by just a short distance away. Me, who had heard the entire conversation. Him, who had just been completely exposed. I took the bus home. An Aston Martin Victor trailed silently behind me the entire way. After I got off, I ignored him. I walked, and he parked his car and walked behind me. I sped up, and he sped up. When we reached the entrance to my apartment building, I had just lifted my foot to step on the first stair when he finally couldn't take it anymore and grabbed my arm. Eve, we need to talk. I didn't dare struggle. Let's talk inside. Grandma's home. It's not convenient. She'd be sad if she saw us fighting. Why did this suddenly feel like a married couple trying not to worry the parents? Okay. Seeing my expression, Lionel tilted his head slightly, his gaze locked on me. Don't you have anything you want to ask me? I forced a smile. It was a bitter one. Maybe it's better if I don't. I'm not going to eat you. Ask. I'll answer anything truthfully. I'd love to hear whatever you have to say. Wait, he's not mad? I immediately started apologizing. I'm so sorry, Mr. Lionel. I really didn't mean to insult you. I didn't know your friends were just joking with you. I'm so sorry. Lionel raised an eyebrow. I don't think you insulted me. And don't call me Mr. Lionel. Call me Lionel. My face was a mask of misery. Mistaking you for a gigolo isn't an insult? You're worried about that little thing? He actually laughed. I was stunned. You're not mad? Not at all. I actually thought it was pretty funny. Lionel rubbed the bridge of his nose. Honestly, what's more important is that you're not mad. I knew you misunderstood, and I deliberately played along as a male model to tease you. I'm the one who should be saying sorry. So, I let out a sigh of relief. My life was spared. So we forgive each other? Deal. I smiled shyly. But I was also secretly relieved that he wasn't actually selling his body to make a living. Then another, more terrifying thought occurred to me. So, are you still going to rent the spare room? The city's golden boy, living in a single room in a rundown old building and doing manual labor every day. The horror of it was enough to make people think he was possessed. Of course. I like it here. Besides, I haven't fixed that clogged drain yet. And... He cleared his throat. Ahem, doesn't Grandma want us to get closer? Oh, right. So he knew all along what my grandma and I were thinking. In the dim light of the old apartment hallway, both of our heartbeats were suddenly very loud. When we got home, everything went back to normal. I went to make dinner for Grandma, and he lazily went to the bathroom to unclog the drain. It was as if his true status as a tycoon hadn't changed a thing. Grandma was sitting quietly in the living room, writing something. When she was done, she slowly tucked it into her pocket. When I asked what it was, she said it was nothing. Instead, she changed the subject. Eve, your birthday is coming up. How do you want to celebrate this year? Let's just get a cake. A few bites will be enough. No, no. This year, you'll celebrate with Lionel. Grandma will give you some money. You two go out and have a nice dinner. I shook my head. What about you? Grandma giggled. I'll go to my old friend's house to watch TV. I won't bother you too. But it's settled. No arguments. Grandma patted my head and went to wash her hands for dinner, humming a little tune. I smiled, helpless. Grandma was taking her job as my wing woman very, very seriously. When my birthday arrived, Lionel and I didn't go out. We just cooked a couple of simple dishes at home. He brought out a bottle of ridiculously expensive wine. I drank it carefully, but I still got drunk. Lionel. The birthday present you gave me is really nice. What did I give you? This bottle of wine. That's not the real gift. I haven't given you your real birthday present yet. I blinked my eyes open, curious. What's the real present? Me. Lionel reached out and gently brushed a stray strand of hair from my face. Eve, before I give you your real present, let me tell you a story. Okay. I listened obediently. Lionel said he had seen me before. On the day I quit my job, Lionel, who usually avoided the office because he hated the hassle, happened to be there to make an appearance. Sitting in his luxury car, he saw me looking completely dejected. My head was down, and the curve of my slender neck was, in his words, thought-provoking. Are we having layoffs? He had asked his driver. No, Mr. Lionel. I think she just quit. Oh. Lionel looked away, not giving me a second thought. The car drove past me. Later, when my grandma used the excuse of being lost to get his number, he saw me and recognized me. Neither of these encounters left a lasting impression on him. He was intrigued. But it wasn't love. It wasn't enough to make him chase after me. But he was still happy to help me get rid of that creep Frank. The third time they met was at the nightclub. When I followed him and said I wanted to book him, my expression so earnest and full of pity. That's when Lionel suddenly thought things were getting interesting. That's why he was willing to play the part of a male model for a while, willing to get closer to me, willing to use his hands that had never done a day of manual labor in his life, to unclog a drain for me and my grandma. I realized it wasn't just intrigue. Eve, I like you. It's the biggest kind of intrigue there is. So, my birthday present is me. Do you want it? Say something. Do you want it or not? The air was thick with romantic tension. I didn't wait any longer. I threw myself into his arms and hugged his waist tightly. Lionel leaned down and kissed the tip of my red ear, chuckling. Actions work too. I'll take that as you accepting the gift. Just as we were wrapped up in a sweet embrace, my phone suddenly rang. It was a stranger. Hello, your grandma seems to be lost. She can't find her way home. Can you come pick her up at the entrance to Harmony Park? The call sobered me up instantly. I asked, worried, she's lost? Yeah. I found a small note in her pocket with her granddaughter's phone number on it. That must be you, right? Okay, I'll be right there. After I hung up, I was a little dazed. My grandma wouldn't, again. You don't think your grandma saw another hot guy and is trying to get his number for you, do you? I looked sheepishly at Lionel, whose face had soured slightly. I don't think so. He leaned down and gave me a playful bite. Even if she is, it's too late. But for now, let's go check on her and make sure she's okay. Okay. I rubbed the spot where he'd bitten me, and we quickly left the house and headed straight for Harmony Park. A group of people were gathered around my grandma. She was just sitting there, staring into space, silent tears streaming down her face. Grandma. I ran over and checked to make sure she wasn't hurt. She seemed physically fine. Grandma, it's me, Eve. What's wrong? Eve, it's Eve. My grandma's eyes gradually cleared, becoming like their usual selves. She looked surprised when she saw Lionel's hand on my waist. And Lionel is here, too. You two, are you together? Oh, my. That's wonderful news. Lionel and I looked at each other, our brows furrowing as a heavy feeling settled in our hearts. That night, after learning we were together, Grandma was happy all evening. Lionel, you can't let my Eve down, you hear? Lionel soothed her. He transferred $5 million to me on the spot. Grandma, here's the first part of the dowry. I'll send the rest tomorrow. Don't worry, I will never let her down. As long as she doesn't let me down. Is it normal to receive a dowry the second you get together? But Grandma was reassured and went to bed happily. Lionel and I hid on the balcony to talk. Do you think Grandma might be? Don't overthink it. She's just getting older, her memory might be fading a bit. But even if it is, it's okay. I'll help you take care of her. Eve, you're not alone anymore. From now on, if Grandma gets lost, I promise I will always bring her back to you. He reached up and wiped away the tears that had welled up in my eyes from fear. My lip trembled. I couldn't help but lean in and kiss him. Thank God. Thank God the person I saw on the street that day was him. Lionel smelled of tobacco, mixed with the clean, fresh scent of his body wash and cologne. It was the scent of a happy future, rushing toward me.